The HOA cop's voice cracked the air like a whip. "Step out of the truck, now!" His pistol shook in his hands as he leveled it straight at my son, Jason. Jason didn't flinch. His eyes stayed locked, calm, unreadable, the way only someone trained for war could be. My heart, though, nearly tore out of my chest. A man in a fake vest was pointing a gun at my boy on our own land. Before we dive in, comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. When I first bought this ranch outside Willow Creek, I thought I'd found freedom. 40 acres of cedar, pasture, and peace. A place where the loudest noise was cicadas in summer. A place where neighbors waved, not watched. For years, that's exactly what it was, until the HOA from the new development next door decided peace wasn't profitable. At first, it was petty harassment. Flyers shoved under my gate about non-compliant fencing. Letters claiming my barn was an eyesore visible from the road. None of it applied to me. My deed proved my land wasn't part of their HOA. But the board, led by Patricia Hall, kept pushing. Things got worse when Jason came home. He'd just left the military after years serving overseas. He wanted quiet, a place to breathe again to help me keep the ranch running. Instead, Patricia and her people treated him like a trespasser. They rolled out a new rule overnight, 55 plus community only. Jason was barely 30. Overnight, his presence was a violation. Then came Carl. He wasn't law enforcement. He wasn't even licensed security anymore, though his badge claimed otherwise. Carl drove a beat-up Tahoe marked HOA enforcement, wore a black vest stamped HOA cop, and strutted around like he had federal authority. I caught him taking photos of Jason's truck, writing fake citations, and even trying to peer through our barn windows. I marched straight into Patricia's office, slammed the stack of notices onto her desk, and told her flat out, "My ranch isn't part of your HOA. Call off your attack dog." Her smile didn't waver. "Carl is here to ensure the safety of the community. If your son causes disruption, we have every right to respond." My jaw clenched. "You don't have jurisdiction over me, and you sure as hell don't have it over him." She leaned forward, lowering her voice like she was confiding in me. "Maybe not legally, but perception is power, and right now, the perception is that your son doesn't belong here." That was the moment I knew this wasn't incompetence. It was deliberate. They were targeting Jason because he didn't fit their sanitized picture of community. And Patricia had unleashed Carl to do her dirty work. For weeks, it built like a storm. Jason caught Carl tailing him on the county road, blocking his way at the gate, muttering about rules. I warned Jason to keep his cool. He just smiled that quiet soldier's smile and said, "Dad, I've seen worse than wannabe cops." But Carl didn't back off. He escalated. And the day finally came when he stepped onto my gravel drive, weapon drawn, shouting at Jason like this was his jurisdiction. That was the day everything broke. That morning felt like any other. Jason had just come back from hauling hay, dust streaking his shirt, his ball cap low against the sun. I was tightening hinges on the barn when the sound of gravel crunching made me look up. Carl's Tahoe stopped halfway down my drive, dust boiling behind it. He swung out of the driver's seat with a swagger, hand already hovering near his holster. His vest gleamed with big white letters. HOA cop. Jason stepped out of the truck, wiping sweat off his brow. That's when Carl's pistol snapped up, aimed squarely at my son's chest. "Step out of the truck! Now!" Carl barked, his voice too loud, too desperate. Jason froze, not in fear, but in calculation. I saw it in his eyes, that soldier calm, the same look I'd seen when he came back from deployment. He lifted his hands slow, deliberate, never breaking eye contact. My gut twisted. "Carl, put the damn gun down," I shouted, moving toward them. He ignored me. "This man is a violation. He's not allowed on this property. He's a threat to the community. I'm detaining him under HOA authority." HOA authority? My blood boiled. There is no such thing. Texas Penal Code 37.11 is crystal clear. Impersonating a public servant is a felony. Carl had just crossed that line in front of witnesses. Jason's voice cut the air, steady as stone. "You don't want to do this, Carl." Carl sneered. "You think I'm scared of you? Rules are rules, and people like you, young, reckless, don't belong here." Jason tilted his head slightly, that half smile I knew well. "Buddy, I've had real guns pointed at me by people who knew how to use them. You're shaking." Carl's hands trembled, just enough for me to see. His trigger discipline was awful. Finger on the trigger, safety who knows where. One twitch, and this lunatic could kill someone. "Drop the weapon, son," I warned. "That's a federal crime you're committing. You're trespassing, armed, and impersonating law enforcement." Carl snapped his eyes at me, rage twisting his face. "Shut your mouth, old man. You've let this punk stay here long enough. I'll fix it myself." Jason moved like lightning. Before Carl realized it, Jason sidestepped, disarmed him, and twisted the pistol out of his grip with a move so fast my eyes barely followed. Carl stumbled, clutching his wrist, eyes wide like he'd seen a ghost. What the hell are you?" Carl spat. Jason didn't answer. He just leveled his gaze, calm and cold. Special forces, you just pulled a gun on the wrong man. The silence was heavy, broken only by Carl's ragged breathing. His tough guy act had cracked, his vest suddenly looking cheap and hollow. Jason kept the pistol pointed low, finger nowhere near the trigger. Professional, controlled. I pulled out my phone, recording everything. Carl, you're done. You just committed criminal trespass, animal cruelty last week, and now aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. That's prison time. Carl tried to puff up again, but the tremor in his hands gave him away. Jason stepped closer, voice sharp enough to cut steel. Leave, now, before the sheriff gets here and drags you out in cuffs. Carl's bravado collapsed. He backed toward his Tahoe, muttering, "This isn't over." Tires spun, gravel sprayed, and he tore off down the road. Jason ejected the magazine, cleared the chamber, and handed me the pistol. "Dad, that guy's dangerous. He's not going to stop." I nodded, my chest tight. Then it's time the sheriff knows everything. No more warnings. No more giving them the benefit of the doubt. It's war now. And with Carl's pistol still warm in my hand, I knew we had the evidence to bury the HOA's little empire once and for all. If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, like and subscribe, because the story is only going to get better. The silence after Carl sped off didn't last long. By dusk, the sheriff's office was at my gate. Once I handed over Carl's pistol and the footage Jason pulled from his dash cam, the deputies went to work. Deputy Waters walked the property with a measured calm. "We'll take your statement, collect that evidence, and we'll get the footage cataloged," he said. "If he's been drawing a weapon unlawfully, impersonating, trespassing, that's a big problem." I watched him as if he were a surgeon, and the truth a wound to be cleaned. Jason stayed close but quiet. The investigation moved faster than any of us expected. Within 48 hours, the sheriff had interviewed half a dozen neighbors. One had snapped a photo of Carl's vest months earlier. Another neighbor produced a printout of a security-style incident log Carl kept in his truck. Dates, plates, observations about under 30 guests. When deputies served a search warrant on Carl's Tahoe, they found the prop badge, a stack of HOA violation forms with forged signatures, and a burner phone loaded with surveillance photos and voice memos. The prosecuting attorney charged Carl under multiple counts: unlawful impersonation, possession of law enforcement paraphernalia, criminal trespass, unlawful carrying, brandishing of a firearm in a threatening manner, and assaultive conduct. State statutes vary, but taken together, the possible criminal exposure included felony charges and serious jail time if convicted, enough to make a man think twice before playing cop again. But Carl wasn't the only target. The digital forensics team pulled text messages from the burner phone and a string of emails from the HOA account. The pattern was ugly and undeniable. The board, with Linda Harper at the center, had quietly authorized covert enforcement and recruited Carl to do what they couldn't do with newsletters and polite letters. Linda first denied any knowledge, but then the deputy produced the chain of texts. Linda's short, clipped orders, payment confirmations for security services, and a message that read, "Make him uncomfortable. Pressure will make him sell." The room cooled. Her face went white. That evidence triggered a cascade. The county attorney issued subpoenas. The state licensing board opened an inquiry into Carl's prior impersonation complaints. The sheriff's office referred the case to the district attorney for conspiracy and organized harassment charges. Neighbors who'd been too scared to speak before started coming forward with copies of illegal notices, photos of property marks, and stories about intimidation. One couple produced a recorded voicemail from Linda warning them their non-conforming teenage son would be targeted if they didn't cooperate. Civil attorneys moved too. A class action complaint was filed on behalf of affected homeowners for harassment, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and abuse of authority. I filed my own suit for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, trespass, and punitive damages. The HOA's insurer tried to weasel out, but once the board's coordination with an unlicensed security liaison was public, the company backed the settlements to limit exposure. Results came fast. Carl pled guilty to impersonating an officer and unlawful brandishing. He received a multi-year suspended sentence, probation, and ordered restitution to several plaintiffs. Linda and 2 board members faced criminal charges for conspiracy and unlawful intimidation. Some pleaded out, others were indicted. The county revoked the HOA's conditional enforcement privileges, froze their accounts, and a judge placed the HOA under temporary receivership pending a full audit. In civil court, the plaintiffs secured a multi-$100,000 settlement for harassment, attorney fees, and punitive damages designed to make sure this never happened again in Willow Creek. Standing on my porch the first week after the settlements, Jason on the stoop, I felt something that wasn't relief so much as reset. The line had been drawn. The people who tried to use fear as a tool lost everything they built on lies. They thought they were above the law. They weren't. They learned the hard way that intimidation is cheap and accountability is expensive. What do you think, folks? Did the HOA cop get what he deserved? Drop a comment below and tell me what you would have done if it was your property. The end.